Happy Halloween. I am the Grim Reaper, and I've officially killed Texas football in 2021. What's up, guys? BK Brad Kellner. That was not as smooth of an entrance as I would have liked. I clicked the wrong button. Hope everyone's doing all right. Hope everyone's having a great holiday weekend. My voice is a little shot from watching Texas football and also celebrating the holiday a little bit, but I hope everybody is doing all right. And it feels like Groundhog Day. I should have dressed up as Bill Murray for Halloween this year because it's Groundhog Day for Texas football. Once again, the Longhorns blow a double-digit second-half lead, and they fall to Baylor 31-24, the final from Waco yesterday. This collapse not as egregious for Texas, but still pretty egregious. The Longhorns led 21-10 with 6 minutes to play in the third quarter, and they get outscored 21-3 the rest of the way, and the Longhorns have dropped 3 in a row for the first time since 2016. Not good at all. Another second half collapse for Steve Sarkisian and company. And all of the psyche stuff that Sark talked about, all of the movie watching that Texas did during the bye week, none of it worked because it was the same old deja vu for Texas yesterday at McLean Stadium. Just embarrassing. And the Longhorns are now 500, guys. This is a 4-4 football team. And all of a sudden, here we are talking about Texas making a bowl game once again. A season that got off to a promising start with that win over Louisiana. And then even after the loss to Arkansas, Texas put together a 3-game win streak. And all of a sudden, all right, feels like things are going in the right direction. And maybe this is a team that can compete for a spot in the Big 12 title game this year. And over the last month, it has all fallen apart. October, a very scary month for Texas football. And the Longhorns, once again, have dropped 3 in a row, and the numbers aren't pretty. Texas outscored 55-10 in the fourth quarters of those 3 losses to Oklahoma, Oklahoma State, and Baylor. And how about this, guys? According to, I'll give Zach Barnett of Football Scoop some credit. He put together a great article. He does it every week, just kind of recapping everything in college football. He did the math, or at least he plugged the numbers into Google, and Google did the math. Apparently, just based on the win probabilities that Texas has had in its last 3 games, the Longhorns had a 0.05% chance of going 0-3 against OU, OSU, and Baylor, and the Longhorns went 0-3. They had a 96.5 win probability against Oklahoma late in the third quarter. They lost that. They had a 92% win probability against Oklahoma State late in the third quarter. They lost that. And this one only an 81% win probability when leading 21-10 in Waco yesterday. But they lost that. So the likelihood of Texas losing all 3 of those games with those win probabilities, 0.05%. And, well, sure enough, Texas, they made the 0.05% come true. They lost all 3 of those games. And the season's done, guys. The season is dead. I've got the Grim Reaper robe on because Texas football in 2021 is over. No chance. I mean, look, if you've watched this team play the last couple of weeks, you didn't feel like they had a great shot to run the table and get to Jerry World. But now that they've lost 3 games in conference play, you know that it's over. And, well, really not a lot to play for Texas this season. Now they're just trying to find a way to make a bowl game, I guess. Obviously, you want to see some progress from Texas over the latter half of this conference slate. But a tough game coming up at Iowa State. The Cyclones look pretty good. I think Iowa State's going to be ranked in that game. They're still fighting for a spot in the Big 12 championship. A trip to West Virginia looms. West Virginia playing some decent ball. Texas still has Kansas State at home to end the season. They're going to beat Kansas. That's like the one guaranteed win that they have. But the Longhorns need 2 wins over those final 4 games to secure bowl eligibility. I think they'll get there, but shoot, I think they've got at least 1 loss left in them this year. So we're live, by the way. Probably should have said that from the beginning. I think you guys can figure that out. But any thoughts, any comments, any questions that you guys may have, whatever y'all want to talk about, please let me know. Hit me in the live chat, and we'll get through this together. I'll probably roll until about noon. Go watch some good football. Hopefully, Cowboys don't play until tonight, but hopefully they don't let me down. We'll see what happens in Minnesota with them. The Texans, of course, I've got to watch them play. against the Rams. Yikes. You want to talk about scary, the Houston Texans. Very scary right now. But Texas, another collapse in the fourth quarter. So many missed opportunities in this game, guys. The receivers just can't catch. We knew Jordan Whittington would be a big loss as soon as he got hurt, and we saw that on full display yesterday. Joshua Moore, who got off to a really, really good start in the first half, just a couple of drops back-to-back. He dropped a touchdown that would have extended Texas's lead, and then the drop that turned into a pick. Well, Texas was in scoring range there. Instead of getting 6 or getting 3, they get nothing on that drop turned INT. Casey Thompson did some good things, but did some bad things too. And you think about his miss to Xavier Worthy in the first half yesterday, just brutal. Xavier Worthy wide open. He had gotten past the Baylor secondary, and an average throw is good enough for Texas to score a touchdown on that play. But Casey Thompson threw him out of bounds. It was a terrible throw. And, Texas doesn't score there. Just missed opportunities galore. Casey Thompson with some other missed reads as well. Just wasn't going through his progressions quickly enough. And he had some costly throws and some costly bad decisions for Texas yesterday. Bijan Robinson, maybe his worst game as a Texas Longhorn. I'll give Baylor credit. They stacked the box, and they did a great job against one of the best running backs in college football. 17 carries, 43 yards for Bijan. His worst performance of the season. So even worse than the Arkansas game, if we're just talking about numbers. Give Baylor credit. They did a great job. They knew what Texas wanted to do. I think everybody knows what Texas wants to do. They've got Bijan, feed the guy. Baylor sold out to stop the run, and it worked. And Texas didn't really have a whole lot of answers. Outside of the first drive in the second half, Texas really couldn't get the run game going. And that obviously made life pretty difficult for Steve Sarkisian and this Texas offense as the game progressed. Another day, we've seen this 3 weeks in a row, guys, where Texas has scored on its opening possession in the second half. A field goal against Oklahoma, but touchdown, good long touchdown drives against Oklahoma State and Oklahoma. And it makes you think that, all right, maybe this team has figured something out. Maybe the second half collapse won't happen. But after that, just nothing. Texas was shut out in the second half against Oklahoma State after that opening score. And yesterday, just that late field goal from Cameron Dicker that made it a one-possession game. Of course, Texas struggled down the stretch, and, they only got the ball back one time, and they turned it over on downs on 4 plays. So that was it. Just 3 points after that opening second-half possession for the Longhorns yesterday. And it's another meltdown, guys. It really is. So now the questions become, what does Texas have to play for in 2021? Also, where are you at with Steve Sarkisian? Are we confident that Sark is the guy long-term, or are you starting to lose faith? Are you starting to lose confidence that this guy can be the guy to turn things around? He said it after the game. He's stunned. Everybody's stunned. And I don't know what to do. I don't think he knows what to do at this point. It doesn't matter if I know what to do. It matters that Sark and his coaching staff knows what to do, and I don't think they know what to do at this point. This team is mentally soft and fragile at this point, and that's obvious. And anytime something doesn't go their way, it just snowballs in the second half of these games, and that's why Texas has blown those leads that they've blown. I don't know how to turn things around. What's up, guys? Chris, self-inflicted wounds. Yeah, time and time again yesterday. So many missed opportunities for Texas. And they just let this one slip away. I don't know which of the 3 losses is worse, guys. I guess Oklahoma, because you had the biggest lead in that game, and that's Oklahoma, and that would have been huge for this season. But man, that game yesterday felt really, really winnable. They all felt winnable. What am I talking about? They all felt winnable, and just missed opportunities, drop passes, bad throws. Texas should have been up maybe 21 at halftime in this game, maybe 28 after that opening possession in the third quarter, but it just didn't happen. Once again, the offensive line struggled. The defense wore down as the game went along. We've seen that 3 times in a row now, and the numbers aren't pretty. I mentioned it. Texas outscored 55-10 in the fourth quarter of these last 3 games. How about this? The Texas rush defense has fallen apart. They've been a big reason why Texas has melted down the way that it has in these last 3 games. Oklahoma, Oklahoma State, and Baylor has ran for 39 carries and 320 rush yards in the fourth quarters of these last 3 games. That's 8.2 yards per carry. 320 rush yards against this Texas defense in these last 3 fourth quarters. Also 4 rushing touchdowns given up by the Longhorns in the fourth quarters of those 3 games. So it's just whatever the opposite of complimentary football is, Texas is doing that because the offense is falling apart and then the defense can't get off the field. And it's deja vu. It is deja vu for this football team here in 2021. Very disheartening performance for sure. Please comment, guys. Whatever's on y'all's mind, please let me know. My computer battery is not doing as well as I want it to do, but I think we're going to get to noon. I think we're going to make it. I think we've got enough juice there. Yes, very disheartening. Matthew went to the game. Oh, I keep clicking on the wrong comment. Sorry, guys. I went to the game, and my goodness, the pain I felt leaving their stadium. Yeah, I'm sorry you were there, Matthew. Thought about going to the game. Have a buddy down here in Houston who's a Baylor fan. He's a Baylor grad. We had talked about going, and we couldn't find tickets, and I've never been so grateful that we couldn't get a ticket connect. I can only imagine how miserable that game was as a Texas fan. Well, actually, I know. I was at the Oklahoma game. It was basically the same thing, but that one's got to hurt. I'm sorry you were there, Matthew. If anybody was there for all 3, Oklahoma, Oklahoma State, and Baylor, God bless you. God bless you. I'm so sorry. One of those was bad enough. Having to be in person for all 3 of those, that's torture. That is cruel and unusual punishment. I think there's an amendment that doesn't allow for that to happen. All right, I think I'm going to have to plug in my computer, which means I'm going to have to unplug the good camera. We're going to have to go on the bad camera, but that's the only way I think we're going to make this happen. My computer went from 25% to 2% in the span of 30 seconds. I just told y'all I was at 25%. Now we're at 2. All right, hold on. Stand by here. All right, there we go. Unplug that. Now I've got the built-in computer on my Chromebook. This thing sucks. I need to get a new laptop so badly. But we're working. We're still alive, and we're plugged in. And we're going to make it to the top of the hour. Now the best that Texas can do is go on a 4-game win streak and go 8-4. I mean, I don't think any of these last 4 games is an unwinnable game by any stretch, but I mean, I don't know how much faith we have in Texas beating anybody half decent at this point. Like Texas will beat Kansas. That is a guaranteed win. And yes, I know what Kansas did to Oklahoma last week. I know what Kansas did to Texas a few years ago, but Texas is going to win that game in Austin. But at Iowa State next week, at West Virginia on the 20th, and the final game on Black Friday against Kansas State. Like, none of those games are gimmies. None of those games are locks. And all of those games are second half meltdown candidate games for this football team. So best they could do is go 8-4 and win out. And hopefully we'll see some things from this team and from this coaching staff that gives you more confidence going into 2022. But I don't know how realistic that is at this point, guys. I mean, Iowa State, I think, is going to be favored in this game next weekend. Texas will be favored against Kansas. We'll see. We'll see what happens with West Virginia and Kansas State, those final 2 regular season games. But, yeah, you got to make a bowl game. Just please win 2. Please win at least 2 there. It sucks that we're still talking about this, guys. It's 12 years in a row where we're basically having this conversation. You had that outlier year in 2018, obviously, where the Longhorns made it to the Big 12 title game and ended up making it to the Sugar Bowl. But, man, I feel like we've had this bowl game conversation way too often over the last dozen years. Went from trying to figure out if Texas was going to make the national championship to can Texas make a bowl game? The Texas Bowl looms. This is not even an Alamo Bowl team this year. We will not be remembering the Alamo Bowl in 2021. If this team makes a bowl game, it's going to be the Texas Bowl, maybe something worse than that, the Liberty Bowl, the Cheez-It Bowl. Who knows? But, they've got to win at least 2 of these Final 4 to even become bowl eligible. And once again, only 1 lock down the stretch. Chris, I was at OU and OSU. Sorry about that, brother. That hurts. 2 of those is bad enough. If you were at all 3, God bless you. If you're at 2 of those. If you were at Oklahoma and Oklahoma State, there's no way you could have bought tickets to Baylor yesterday and, felt good about it. After those 2 games, you're like, I need some time off. the bye week wasn't enough. Like I need to not go to a game for a while if you were at both of those two back to back. The O-line sucks. Again, that's been a problem with this program way more often than not over the last 12 years. And I was worried about it going into the season. We've talked about that on this channel a lot, guys. And there were a lot of people who cover this football team who thought the offensive line could be pretty good in 2021 because you've got a lot of experience, a lot of guys who have started a lot of games. I think Kyle Flood's a really good offensive line coach. And I think he still will be a good offensive line coach here. But the offensive line has been bad. It's been a problem, and it feels like it's gotten worse as the year has progressed. And I was worried about that group going into the season, like despite the experience. Like they weren't good last year, and they haven't been good for the majority of their Texas careers. And the one good player that you had up front in 2020 was Sam Cosmi, and he's off in the NFL. So a bad O-line last year. You lose your only really good player from that O-line last year. My expectations were pretty low coming into the season that group would be markedly better, and they've been maybe markedly worse in 2021. So very disappointing, very, very disappointing. And it's tough to do a lot as an offense when you don't get good play up front. And Bijan just had nowhere to go. I'll give Baylor credit. I'll give their defensive front credit. They made some things happen. And look, this Texas offensive line has been what it's been all season long, and Bijan's able to do something. He's been able to do a lot against some of these other teams. That was not the case yesterday. 17 carries for 43 yards. Baylor sold out to stop the run. They loaded the box. They weren't worried about Texas's passing game. They weren't worried about the Texas wide receivers on the outside. And, it turned out to be a great call by Dave Aranda and company. That game plan worked, and Texas couldn't get anything going in the second half offensively. Stop me if you've heard that before. How big is it now that we lost on the Brockermeyers? Big. It was big at the time. It's big now. It is big now. Got to bring some new cats in here up front because the guys there right now, you guys can see it, not getting it done. An interesting debate. Somebody brought this up earlier. I wonder if Hudson Card starts the rest of the way for Texas. Casey Thompson hasn't been awful. But, man, he's had some costly mistakes over these last two games. I don't put yesterday's loss solely on Casey Thompson, but, man, that missed touchdown to Xavier Worthy, that would have been huge. Would have extended Texas's lead in the first half, and that's one that you'd like to have back. Greg McElroy, who was on the call yesterday, he's like, that's a play that Casey Thompson's going to think about when he's 35. Like that throw right there. And look, if Texas wins that game, you don't think about it as much, but because Texas lost that game, yeah, that one's going to stick with Casey Thompson. That one's going to stick with me as a Texas fan for a while. It sure as hell is going to stick with Casey for a long, long time because that was a huge miss right there. And Casey Thompson he's not progressing. He's not progressing the way that we want him to progress. And that, of course, means in terms of ability, like week to week, getting better game by game, but it's also he's not going through his progressions in play as well and as fast as I would like for him to. It just feels like if the first read is not there, he's not able to quickly process what's going on in real time and throw the ball where he needs to throw the ball. I mean, there were a couple of times on replays where you saw it watching the game where there was a receiver open and Casey Thompson his eyes didn't go over there. He didn't get there in time. Didn't have a ton of time because the offensive line isn't good and Baylor was able to get a lot of pressure. But some of that falls on Casey Thompson. So the question is now, does Sark go to Hudson Card the rest of the way? The season's lost. Like, you're not making it to the conference championship game at this point. Do you go to the younger guy? Like, that's why you would go to Hudson Card. Do you go to the redshirt freshman? I know Casey Thompson still has another year of eligibility. He could still be this team's guy in 2022. But I felt like the ceiling is higher with Hudson Card than it is with Casey Thompson. The floor is lower too. I think we found that out in the Arkansas game. But the ceiling, like the future of this offense for me, feels like it's Hudson Card. So do you go to Hudson Card right now and just let him go through the bumps and bruises of being a starting quarterback with this team and see what you've got with him and give him some more playing time and hope that he can show you some things that give you confidence in him being the obvious starter going into 2022? I wouldn't be opposed to that move. I wonder what Sark is thinking right now at quarterback. Once again, Casey Thompson, not like solely responsible for these last three games, but maybe you make a move, try to create a spark, and really it's more of just see what you have with the younger guy than the redshirt junior at this point. Hey, what was up with that missed roughing? Yeah, I mean, The announcers all game long were raving about how Baylor didn't have any penalties until like the fourth quarter. And Baylor got away with an obvious hold on one of their touchdown runs. And yeah, that should have been a roughing the kicker or roughing the punter on Dicker the kicker. They went to review. On the field, they said that the Baylor player had blocked the kick or partially blocked the kick. And if that's the case, if you make contact with the football, you can make contact with the kicker. Like there's no roughing penalty if you block the kick. But that was not the case. Like it wasn't blocked. I thought it was clear. The announcers on TV thought it was clear that it was blocked. I don't know what the hell they were talking about. I don't know what they heard that I didn't hear. But yeah, that should have been a roughing the punter there. That should have been a penalty on Baylor that extended Texas's drive, and instead Baylor got the ball back, and I think they scored on that ensuing possession. Speaking of Dicker the kicker, what in the hell was that fake punt call? What are we doing? I mean, I already felt bad about Texas's chances at that point in the game, even before that happened. But after on 4th and 11, they try that fake punt. I knew it was over. I think everybody knew it was over at that point. Just a disaster. 4th and 11 at the Baylor 49-yard line. And you're snapping the ball 15 yards back, too. So you've got to go, 26 yards to pick up a first down there? And I think that's on Cameron Dicker. Like, I think he has the option to take off and run if he sees what he likes. I don't know what the hell he saw there. There was nothing there. There was nothing there. Baylor had a guy in spy. He didn't even get back to the line of scrimmage, let alone get close to the 11 yards needed for a first down. That was a disaster. And Baylor goes and scores in 3 plays on that ensuing drive. And they extend the lead from 24-21 to 31-21. I don't know if Texas wins the game if they punt it there and pin Baylor deep in their own territory. But after that fake punt, the game was pretty much over. So I don't even know what to say about that. Dicker the kicker's too old. He's been here for too long to make mistakes like that. That's ridiculous. Shouldn't even have the option there, honestly. But I think that one falls more on Dicker than Steve Sarkisian or Jeff Banks or anybody in the coaching staff. That's just a disastrous decision by a guy who should know a whole hell of a lot better. But yeah, after that, I felt like it was over. So 3 games in a row, guys. Texas just collapsing in the fourth quarter. Once again, outscored 55-10 in these last 3 fourth quarters. There's not even a lot to say at this point. At Iowa State next. Iowa State lost to West Virginia yesterday. It's a weird Big 12 year. Very weird Big 12 year. Felt like a winnable conference, or at least felt like you could get to the Big 12 title game, and that's, once again, not the case for the Texas Longhorns. All right, I'll check a few more comments. We'll go for a couple of more minutes here. Thank you all for watching. Hope you guys can salvage your weekend a little bit after that disaster yesterday. Basketball season coming up. I hate even saying that, but we're 9 days away from college basketball starting. I think a lot of Texas fans are focused on that right now. I tweeted yesterday, during this collapse, why do we do this to ourselves? And that was kind of a double entendre there. It was a Texas football thing, because of all the self-inflicted wounds that this team has time and time again. But it was also, why do we as fans put ourselves through this every single Saturday? It's so disappointing. I don't even have to do this anymore. I don't even work at the Horn. I don't even work in Austin. I don't technically cover this team anymore. Why do I do this? Why do all of us do this to ourselves? So painful. Every single year. So painful. The bad times make the good times feel extra good, but God, the good times feel pretty far away. And it's been a long time since we've had those good times. Volleyball is undefeated. Thank you, James. Good call. Number 1 in the country. There's still a lot going on with this Texas athletic department. There's no doubt about that. Kicking ass in pretty much every other sport, but the one that pays the bills is the one that's struggling the most right now, and they've got to get that turned around. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. All right, guys, I think that's going to do it for today's video. Go watch some football. Go watch some Red Zone. Try to enjoy your Sunday. Try to enjoy your Halloween. Just eat a bunch of candy to drown your sorrows. I'll probably go with something else to drown my sorrows. But Texas back at it next week at Iowa State. I've been struggling. I've been letting you guys down. I've been neglecting y'all a little bit. I'll get back into the swing of things, making more videos, talking Texas football. We'll talk some Texas basketball once again. Not this week, but next week, the start of the college basketball season. Just a couple of weeks away from Texas at Gonzaga, number 5 at number 1. We'll definitely preview that game and preview Texas basketball and talk a ton of Texas basketball on this channel. We'll still talk Texas football too. I know it's depressing and disappointing and embarrassing and humiliating and any ing you could think of at this point. But we'll keep that going on this channel. And we'll try to figure out how Texas can turn this thing around and try to salvage this season. But, man, this thing feels lost. And, look, my expectations were lower than most for this team going into the year with all the roster turnover and obviously the coaching turnover too. But I'd be lying if I said I saw 4-4 coming. And I'd be lying if I said we'd be having a bowl game debate, like whether or not Texas would make a bowl game debate going into the month of November. But here we are once again. Groundhog Day, deja vu for the Longhorns. It sucks. All right, guys, talk soon. Excuse me. Thanks for watching. Appreciate the love. Please like this video if you haven't yet. Please subscribe to this channel if you haven't yet. Tap that notification bell if you'd like, so you're always informed whenever I release new content. Thank you all for watching. Appreciate the love. Until next time, y'all stay safe. Y'all stay healthy. And hook 'em.